It's G for I. We got you.
Subscribe to our channel.
Hello guys, welcome to RHCSA exam prep by G4I. On this section, we will be dealing with Selinux, that is debugging Selinux. So let me share this sample question. This is a sample question that we will use to debug Selinux. By the end, you should be able to troubleshoot the server and fix anything that is wrong with it. So the question reads as follows. A web server running on a non-standard port 82 is having trouble serving content. Debug and resolve the issue as necessary so that the following conditions are met. The web server on the system is able to serve all existing HTML files in var www.html. Do not delete or otherwise alter the contents of existing files. The web server serves this content on port 82. The web server starts automatically at system startup. Great. So we know two things, right? There is a web server, and also we have a port 82. It's serving content through 82, and the directory is var www.html. The content is in var www.html. So what is Selinux? Selinux is what? An extra layer of security in a Linux system. So it enforces policies, which it enforces policy on the files and directories, which makes sure that an application consumes only files and directories that are designated to them. The same thing with ports. So Linux has two modes, the permissive mode and the enforcing mode. But on RHEL 9, the enforcing mode is default. So most of the times you will never be asked, or you hardly be asked to turn Linux into permissive mode, because that's a security breach. According to Red Hat, it's a security breach. You can just turn it to permissive mode just to try something, but turn it back on. All right, so this portion is solved. Linux has three main types that you need to understand: the F context, the port, and the Boolean. But we will keep the Boolean for another part of the video. Okay, so let's concentrate on F context and port, which you would likely be asked most of the times. We will do another video about Boolean. All right, so you can see down here that there is a database. What's this database? This is called the Linux database. What happens is, whenever you run an application, Linux loads this database into memory and use it to check all the files and directories of that application, and also the ports of that application, making sure that they all have the right context existing within them. So for example, on the question that they gave us, they said var www.html. So if what we're explaining is right, that means the F context, or the context for what? var www.html should have something to do with the HTTPD web server, and also the port 82 should be in the database. If these options, or if these conditions are not met, what happens is Linux will not allow HTTPD to run. As we see right here, systemctl status HTTPD, it's not allowing it to run. It's not allowing it to run, so it's in a failed state, right? Even if you try to start it as we did. Okay, so since it's not allowing it to run, what we need to do is make decisions, right? Either we are adding a file or modifying a file, making sure that it exists in the database, so that Linux will allow HTTPD to run. So the port is 82, and we have var www.html right here. Great. Let's first of all check var www.html. So ls-ldz/var www.html. We have /var www.html right here, which has a context of HTTPD_sys content. That's the object type of this context. The object type of this context is HTTPD syscontents_t. Great. So this tells us that every file in /var www.html should have httpd syscontent underscore t for Selinux to allow httpd to use this directory. Let's check the files inside var www.html. ls dash lz slash var www.html right here, and I see that there is one file inside which has an object type of what, etc underscore t. Great, this is a wrong object type. This is the object type of /etc. It shouldn't be here. So Selinux will never allow etc underscore t, this file, to run. So that's why httpd is failing. One of the reasons why httpd is failing. So what do? We need to take a decision. Either we are modifying this context type right here and adding it to the database so that when Selinux reads the database again, it will have the right context type and it will apply it on this file. Then we will pass that step, right? So if I do cmanage, which is the command used to interface with Selinux, cmanage fcontext -l-c, capital C stands for custom, a custom list, to see if anything has been added to this before, or it is like a virgin list, right, with nothing added. Now let's check and see. Great, I see that there is a file here called var www.html index.html, which has the context type of etc underscore t. That's the object. Now we need to modify this, right? Because the parent directory, which is HTML, has the context type of httpd underscore t. Great. So we need to make sure that this file, which exists in var www.html, should have the same object type as the parent directory. So what do? Let's say I don't know, I am in an exam situation and I don't know the command, how I will change this. What do? I do a man page, which helps a lot. Man, what? cmanage -fcontext. Then I pipe it and I grep to limit. -a for lines after. I'm taking 5 lines after the word -i for case insensitive example. Great. I see examples in man pages. It says, okay, to add, you do cmanage fcontext -t httpd syscontent underscore t, then the directory or the file that you want to change what, the context type. So okay, in my case, I want to change the context type of var www.html. So I do cmanage fcontext add this httpd underscore t. So I'm changing this content. So I'm saying that add the context httpd underscore syscontent underscore t, which technically it won't go, but I'll show you the reason why. All right, from the error message. So it says error, file context for this already exists. Right, it already exists, which brings us to the second thing we have here, which is modify. Okay, since this exists already, what decision should I send to Selinux so that they can register something to the database? So I have to modify, right? So I change it to modify. I put m, which changes it to modify, right? I'm modifying this content right here, etc underscore t. I'm bringing it to httpd underscore httpd syscontent underscore t, right? Which I add to the database. If I call the list of the database again, let me call the list again, cmanage fcontext -l-c right here. Oh, sorry, -c. Okay, right here we see that it has been modified to what? httpd syscontent underscore t. I clear my screen. Okay, great. So the database has been modified. Let's mark that, right? The database is modified and we are good with the database. Now, but if we list the file again, you see the file is still etc_t, despite the fact that the database is what? httpd_sys content, which brings us to a restore command. We need to restore, right? We need to restore recon. You see it right here. So we need to restore, we need to pass the restore command, which when this command is passed, this decision is passed, or like the command is passed, Selinux will read the database. Then if it finds any changes in the database, it will apply it to the file. So I would say right here, I would say restore recon -r for recursively -v for verbose. Then I add, right? I put the name of the file or the directory. I can just put /var www.html here, and anything else that is inside that directory. Do a restore recon. What I'm saying is go read the Selinux context and reapply it on this directory. It reads and tells me, oh, I found something. I relabeled what? index.html from etc_t to httpd_sys_content_t. Great. The second part is port. Let's go to the port. It said port 82. Remember, we're running HTTP. So we don't know if in this database, the database for port, there is a portion there that has 82. Let's check. We do cmanage, which is a command used to interface with that. Cmanage port, a pipe, and I grep for what? HTTP. But of course, you need to do -l to list the database. A pipe and grep for HTTP. Okay, I see everything HTTP. The context type of HTTP port, which is right here, which we are interested in. I see 80, 81, 443, 488. I don't see 82. Oh, that's a problem, right? Well, remember with the context type, I did check the the custom list. So let me go to check the custom list again of port. Cmanage port this time around. Great. There's no custom list. So this is like it has not been tampered with. Nobody has modified it now. So I need to create mine. If I don't know how to create it, what do? I access my man page for cmanage port. A pipe and I grab for 10 lines -a. Let me grab for 5 lines. Grab 5 lines -i for case insensitive after the word example right here. Great. I see a cmanage port -l to list. I see to allow HTTPD on port 81, which is right here. I just copy the command, modify it right to 2. The answers are all there for us, for me. Well, let me say I'm adding this time around. Since there's nothing in the database, I'm adding cmanage port add. Type of the context is http_port_t. I'm adding -p for protocol TCP82. I'm adding. Great. I've added it. All right. So we've passed the port area. Now let's start Selinux. Let's start HTTPD and see if HTTPD start. Systemctl start HTTPD. Great. It has started. Systemctl status HTTPD. It started, and I need to make sure it's enabled, though it's already enabled here. But to show you that, I'll do systemctl enable HTTPD. Great, making sure it's enabled. Now, if I do a curl localhost, I'll see curl localhost. Great. Look at this error. So many people get stuck here too. You're curling on port 80. The default port is 80. So I will curl on port 82 because my web server is running on port 82 right here. Great. this is my web server. I know internally, remember what I said about Selinux, I know internally that it's working. Selinux works with the internal policies. It tightens up internal policies and makes sure that internal security, it tightens up internal security and make sure that it applies policies, right? Firewall D apply the policy to external sources, right? So any server that will try to come to this server will not be able to. Why? Because Firewall D will not allow it. You'll kick it back out. So we need to open like a tunnel, which is 82. We need to open the 82 tunnel so that these servers can pass through. And now Firewall D will allow them to pass through and get into the system. So I do is Firewall D, firewall -cmd -add -port equals to what? Port 82 over TCP. I do it permanently. I do a firewall -cmd -reload. Great, it's reloaded. Now let's try it from outside. IPA. Okay, let's try it from outside. One 192.168.12.151 on port 82. Great, see it right here. This is my web server, the same thing that I saw right here when I did it internally. So with this, we will say that's all about Selinux. So we saw the Selinux context type, we saw the object decisions that you make on it, and what the difference between Firewall and Selinux, which is Selinux deals with the internal policies. It tightens internal policies. Why Firewall D, like the military, right, tightens external policies, like immigration. You can't come in to the system. There's no way you can come in, right? So that's all about Selinux. Thank you guys. Please subscribe, like, and click on the notification bell. We've been absent a bit, but we're back.